kuwa mkono ambao unalima ardhi, mlango wa mkulima kuwa mshindi, kuwa na uhakika sasa, kuulea mustakabali wa baadaye. Tufanye kazi pamoja na tukue pamoja, kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
Hello there, this is Farm Kenya Show right here on KTN, and we are starting a process where we'll be looking at coffee planting, processing, and at the end of the day, you know how it gets to your cup. All right, we are in Ruwawa Farm in Kiambu County. We'll be speaking to David Waweru, who is a young coffee farmer. We'll be looking at the whole process as you start in the farm from this little seed until you harvest it. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi. Join me in this series as we get along to get to know the nitty-gritties when it comes to coffee processing. All right, David, thank you so much for joining us and just giving us your insights. So let us start from the beginning. When it comes to coffee farming, you know, very many people, when you get coffee in your cup, you don't really think about how this whole process came about.
Yeah.
So just take us through. First of all, what do you even think about, or where do you start with coffee farming?
So with coffee farming, you start by designing the farm, getting to know where the land is. I'd prefer you take a whole year so that you can know the seasons of what the farm will experience, so that you can know which side has a flooding maybe area or something, so that you're able to design the farm as per basically as what nature intended. Most people just plant coffee because they want to get money from it, but they don't do the design. So when the climate change issues come into the farm, you find that the farm, one of the farm areas is affected because there was no design process which took beforehand. But as for Ruwawa, we've been doing it for 4 generations now. So this was designed by our great-great-grandfather, who basically was able to now be there for a whole year in the farm, and he was able to now find the right varieties for the right climate and also for this elevation. Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for that. Now, when you look at the soil, the type of soil that you should plant your seedlings in, just give us a little bit about that, because many a times, remember, we have different seasons and we also have different climates for different regions.
Yeah.
So just give us a little bit about the type of soil.
Okay, there's 2 ways to look at it. There's a way where you could have your own nursery, where you're trying to actually set up a nursery in a space where there's never been coffee, or you can just pick now the seedlings from the seeds of the coffee, which fall down under the bushes. So for us, it's more of getting a balanced pH of the soil, because you don't want the soil to be too acidic, which it will also affect your coffee to be too acidic. And also you want to look at the humus levels in the soil. So get to about 5 to 7% of humus levels. Humus meaning anything that is waste from the birds or from the insects or from any microorganisms that are in your farm. So I would suggest first do a soil test and then design the farm as per the seasons go. And then now from that you're able to know what variety to put. Like over here we put the SL variety because we started with when SL was the thing and it still is the thing. I would say the Kenyan gold of coffee is SL. The taste and the flavor is different from Riru. So even though the Riru has hybrid capacities of like drought resistant and stuff, we still prefer using the SL because the practices that we've instilled have always been there and has always worked for us. With this done, then it comes to a question where the soil now is being listened to and the crop which is designed to stay in that soil is actually flourishing. So that's basically the whole design process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still on soil. So how should a farmer, now once they've seen how to design the farm, they've seen the climate that is suitable, now how does a farmer prepare the soil before now you even now decide to introduce seedlings into the soil? Yes.
So for me, I would work backwards. Most farmers would get the seedlings and then plant it. For me, I'd look for the market first, so that I plant the right seedlings for the market, so that
Okay.
I don't really get to look for the market later on. So it's more of getting your figures right, coming up with a small sketch of how you want your farm to run, then now listening to the soil, and then doing what is capable for your region. And I would suggest plant also fruit trees in your coffee farm. Try plant some bananas. I'm sure people are normally looking at coffee as a monoculture system, but for us a multi-story system has worked, where we have the bananas, the macadamias, the coffee, and we also have now the mulching, which happens all year round from the trees. So we don't really get to spend a lot of money investing in like mulch and doing a lot of other commercial practices which other people do. So for us, it's more of listening to the soil, designing your farm. I would suggest maybe don't strain your farm too much. Maybe in an acre you can put 1,800 bushes. That's like a middle tier. Then from that now you're able to come up with a nursery, which now you can replicate or replace the ones which are older with the ones which are young. Then with that now you're able now to teach your staff the system of this tree grows to this time, then you're able to come up with a chart for them to follow. The soil issue is very big in Kenya because one of the main problems in Kenya is soil quality. So you'll find that we don't listen to basically the soil, we listen to the advertisements of do this, spray that and do that. But you notice that when those kinds of chemicals are pulled out of the market, it gets a farmer into a financial dilemma because the variety has already gotten used to this type of chemical. So you now have to go back and look for other chemicals that you can sub-use for that. And for that, it's not sustainable. Yeah.
All right. So still now that you've mentioned, we've spoken about now the seedlings. Now let's look at also the seed and nursery stage when they're still very young.
Yeah.
So first of all, where can a farmer source for seeds, certified ones for that? And then now from there, we can look at how you make sure that these seedlings are well taken care of. So first of all, let us start with even the seeds. Where can a farmer source for the seeds?
I would say the easiest way for a farmer who just wants to start would be sourcing it from an already existing coffee farmer who already has the knowledge, so that they can also not just get the seeds, they can also get the advice which they need in the long run. Coffee Research Institute is also a space where you can also get your seedlings, but you'll find maybe sometimes they're over. So it becomes a question of where can I get this, where can I get that? So it's more of now getting in touch with where your coffee comes from, getting to know who the farmer is, so they're able to also give you seedlings which will last and which have also been naturally selected to be very maybe high in yield or very productive. So I would suggest get seedlings from farmers who are already doing that practice. Necessarily, it might not say that it's certified because the farmer won't give you the certification, but at least they will give you basically like a startup where you can actually start from. And from that now you can build your own variety base and your own bushes, and then now you can visit now the lab and find more properties about your variety.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's move and look at now the seedlings. They've stayed at the nursery, if they have.
Yeah.
So how long should they stay in the nursery before now you transplant them and now bring them into this kind of ecosystem?
So it depends with the kind of variety you have. With the hybrids, it will take shorter Basically, a seedling would take 3 years for you to have your first harvest. But if you're planning to propagate it, you could stomp it on an already existing bush like this one, where it's a bit old, so you cut it off and then you graft it on it. That way you don't have to now buy the seedling from another person and then come and wait for another 3 years and all that. So it's more of coming up with a system which works. And for us, it works when it works when it's a natural selection, where we identify the strongest seedlings, and those are the ones now who get propagated now to the farm.
All right.
Yeah.
And also when it comes to watering of this young coffee that is not, the coffee bush that is not really very well matured,
Yes.
how is the watering supposed to be?
Okay, so first of all, I would suggest you don't use water from the river because you don't know how many chemicals have gone into it. Most Kenyan farms are based on a river line because we use wash process, so we need the water. So you'll find the wastewater going back to the river. So I'd suggest get a community borehole or basically have your own personal borehole. Do a pH test. Water is very, very important in coffee, from the farm level to also now the customer level and drinking it. So you have to know what minerals are in your water. And for that now, you're able now to come up with a schedule of watering. Most seedlings and nurseries would do it maybe thrice or 4 times a day, but it depends if it's shaded or unshaded. As you can see, like in our farm, we have a bit of other macadamia trees and fruit trees, so it's semi-shaded. Why? Because we've noticed that shaded coffee actually has better quality than unshaded coffee. Why? Because of the ecosystem, because of the temperature control, because of just the shade and the mulching earlier. So with that, then you're coming from a nursery where you were doing shaded, then now you introduce it to also a farm plot where it's similar, so that they don't get into shock and be like, okay, there's too much sun for me now. So it's just like a baby. So you take care of it for 3 years, they start teething. Then if you take care of it well, you can live with them for 100 years.
That's good. That's good to know. So when it comes to, now let's move to the field now, in the farm.
Okay.
Now, you mentioned about the different spacings that you're supposed to
Exactly.
if maybe you want 800 bushes. Give us a little bit about the spacing. How should it be, and how separated can they be?
Okay, so the shaded now will come into the capacity of what your soil can handle. So you can't do spacing just because you have land. It needs to come from now the lab test that you're gonna do, which is now gonna tell you the capacity of how your soil quality is, how many bushes it can hold, so that you don't want to strain the land and basically it becomes barren after a few years. So it's more of now, you can do a 2x3, you can do a 3x4, 4x5, depending on the size of the land you have. You can also even grow coffee in a bucket. So you can grow it in your balcony. It doesn't have to be something so prestigious like we need this, we need that. You can grow it basically. So for the young people, this is something you can grow from your balcony. You can start drinking your own coffee. You can start making basically farm-made decisions, and it can be a business for you. You can leave it for the next generation. Yeah.
All right. And now, now just on what you've spoken about, when it comes to planting your own coffee, how do you prepare the hole that you're going to put the seedling in, and how do you make sure that this the hole that you've put the seedling in is well enough to hold it even as it grows?
Okay, so now that will be based on the spacings.
Yes.
Let's say you'll create a hole and then you have a debe of manure, dried manure on there. You will leave the hole to at least breathe for about 3 days. Then now you'll apply manure a little bit, then apply some soil, then apply now the seedling. Then on top, you'll be able now to put the topsoil and a little bit of mulch, if it's straw or hay or dried leaves, so that at least that temperature which is there can be controlled by the mulch. And also when the roots grow, they also get to find food, which is the manure underneath. Yeah.
All right. And speaking about temperature, when you look at the different seasons that we have, you find there's a time when there's totally, absolutely no rain.
Yeah.
It stays for a very long time.
Yeah.
Now, as a farmer who has just begun planting your coffee, your seedlings, during this period, what do you need to do? And how do you make sure that you balance the temperature between different seasons?
So what you can do is basically you can adopt the multi-story system where you will grow your seedling and maybe a banana tree on the side to provide shade. Even when it's growing to an adult capacity, they'll still have the nutrients coming from the banana. So this will basically create a climate resilient shield around your coffee seedlings. Therefore, you won't have leaf stroke or maybe other diseases which come because of too much high temperatures. So with that, you're able to now control and also have an extra source of income from the bananas for you as a farmer, because as you said, it's a seasonal product. So you need something else to supplement it. So I would suggest fruit trees. I would suggest berries. I would suggest if you're able to do apples, do it. If you're able to do even sugarcane, do it. But do it with an aim that you're also providing shade for this nursery, and also you're not just overdoing it. So you'll do it to the system.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And now when it comes to the field,
Yeah.
now you've put your seedling, it is growing. How do you take care of that? How do you water it? How do you make sure that at the end of the day, this seedling stands like the ones that we're seeing around
Yeah,
us?
exactly.
Yes.
So there's now called, it's called coffee nutrition and husbandry. Husbandry meaning that you're taking care of the seedling from its natural state, which is from a seed, to now being a full adult. So with that now, you're able now to come up with a schedule based on your location of your farm. Maybe if you're planting your coffee in a very windy space and you'd love maybe to do coffee and other things, but what's hindering you is maybe the soil quality is a bit low. So would suggest on the nursery side, possibly have something that you can add to it, maybe cow manure or liquid manure coming from the compost, or whatever source of input that you can have a stable source of it, so that when now you're coming up with a schedule for the small seedlings, they're able to actually get the nutrients which they need. So you can have a mixture of cow dung, chicken, and a little bit of crushed bones. If you're seeing that your soil pH is too low or is too high, then you can control that by adding very natural things to your soil. You don't really have to be dependent on what the TV is telling you. It's more of about going back to the drawing board, going to what really works. So other uses that you would use it is that the coffee spent grounds that we would get from the coffee would now spray it to the other seedlings which we see that are affected by maybe a leaf rust, you see. So we would add some neem to it, some neem oil, and a balance of some spent coffee grounds. Spent coffee grounds is the coffee that after you finish drinking, what's in the kichungi. Yeah.
Yes.
So you can reuse that back to the farm. So you don't really need to have like a wild card that there's a secret to it. No, it's more of using nature, listening to the soil, and letting it guide you. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for that. And now let's look at also the watering. The watering and how do you have a schedule?
Yes.
And is there anything like overwatering of the plant so that it doesn't grow the way it's supposed to be? Yeah.
Yes, there is a schedule, especially when, so on the watering stage, we normally look at it as short rains and long rains. So we look at a period where we have a lot of rain, we won't overwater. And when we have short rains, that's then when we'll start watering it. And it could be maybe twice or thrice a week, depending on the age of the coffee. I would say the more younger it is, the more attention to detail it needs. So you'd now have to come up with that schedule that I'm saying, based on the weather, not just based on what you're seeing, because the long rains and the short rains will give you a whole demographic of what's going to happen in terms of weather, because we can't control the weather ourselves as farmers. So it's more of planning with the calendars that are already there. Yeah.
All right. So when you look at also the growing of this particular coffee plant that you've set up, when it comes to the kind of fertilizer that you're using, first of all, if you're using organic, you can give us a little bit about the examples of what you put in the organic type of fertilizer.
Yes.
And also, if it's chemical fertilizer, you can also advise on what really a farmer should use.
Okay.
Yes.
So on the organic side, I would suggest you have a circular engine, so that you can actually have a circular economy in your system, because organic farming is very stressful when you don't have the cash to do to feed your farm and do all that. So for us, we opted to set up a system which involves us having a biogas system where we reuse the waste from the coffee with the pulp. We mix it with cow dung, and now we feed the system. Then from feeding the system, we're able to get gas, which we use to cook for our employees. So we've eradicated a nutritional problem. And then secondly, now you're able to have that liquid manure, which we produce about 200 liters a month. Now that itself becomes now the concoction, which you use now in the farm. Now that decreases your fertilizer inputs or chemical fertilizers up to 70%. And at the same time, you'll save about 15 trees, because now you're using regenerative agriculture. You're reusing this liquid fertilizer back in the farm. Then if it's a biogas system, I'm sure you can pay it between 16 and 18 months period with an organic setup. And then from that, now you're able now to gain more income, because now you're feeding the coffee, you're feeding the fruit trees, now you're also getting a buzz, so there's a sense of tourism. Guys want to come check your farm, like what you guys are doing now. And it's something that is a joy for every farmer. So I feel like for synthetic fertilizers, it's more of what are you looking for? Are you looking for something which has high nitrogen, phosphate? Are you looking for something which is more a little bit off market, but it's not fully synthetic, but it's a mixture? So with that, I would say the synthetic fertilizers and chemicals, you can never dictate the price in them, and you never know exactly what's fully in it, and your plant gets dependent on it. But for the organic fertilizer, you can sell it, you can produce green energy, you can feed your people. There's so many things that you can do that you would not have done it with chemical fertilizers. You see? So with that, we're able now to have a sustainable farm, and we're able now to even pass it down through a generation. Exactly.
All right. So the last question as we now wrap up to go for a short break. When it comes to pests and diseases that affect this particular type of crop, what are they? And if you've experienced that, how did you come out of that?
Okay. So I came up with a way how to eradicate some, or to make some insecticides using coffee per se, the waste of coffee. So I was able to come up with basically fungicides, which is a mixture of the coffee waste and some mixture of neem. And we're able now to come up with our own system where we are not dependent on the chemicals which are coming out, but we are the ones who are making it. So look at it as thinking outside the box and being the box maker. So now being the box maker is better, because now you don't have to really think about the box. It's already gonna be made. So we decided that any problem that we have, like coffee leaf rust, it's a fungal problem for SL. So we'd spray now the water mixture, spent coffee grounds, and the neem, and would see it going. But in commercial sense, there is no specific medicine which actually can eradicate it. So the only thing that you can do is pluck out the affected leaves, go bury it in somewhere far from the land, burn it, so that that fungal infection does not spread to the farm. But for us, we said, okay, if we do that, we're going to lose a lot of leaves, where it will not even convert into any beans. So let's think of a way where we can come up with natural fungicides. Then now we came up with other insecticides and pesticides that were introduced now to the farm. So we looked at it in two stages. We looked at it as on a biological phase and also on a chemical phase, where we were like, we could introduce some insects or some pollinators to eradicate this, but you'd find that the fungal infections and stuff, it's more of something microscopic. So you have to come up with a way how to either control it or a schedule where you can follow until it actually dies down. So with that, we were able now to come up with recipes which we use in the farm to basically act as a foliar fertilizer, act as a bio boundary, act as basically as an aid, as a first aid agent for the tree, because now we kept looking at the tree as a living thing, and we found out that if we listen to it, it can actually heal itself from what it's actually getting from it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. You've heard from David himself. We're going to go for a short break, but don't go too far. We'll be back with more. Remember, we are looking at coffee farming. All right, welcome back. And remember, we are speaking about coffee farming. We're talking to David Waweru. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Now, let's continue. We were looking at the pests and diseases. Now, let's look at another thing. The seedling has grown. First of all, you can give us, you said 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, so within the 3 years, what are we expecting and what are we looking at in terms of taking care of this particular seedling or taking care of this particular plant?
Okay, so for per plant, I would say you would require maybe, I would say 12 debes for that period. 12 big debes, not just a debe, so that you're able to pump up the nutrition. You're able to now make the branches a bit thicker. And then with that now, you're able now to take the water intake for the plant now will actually gain more. So for us, it's more looking into what can we use now at this stage, when it reaches this stage, what is affecting the seedling? And then from that now, if it's not been affected, can we add more manure? Can we supplement it with maybe chicken manure, you see? Or can we add more mulching? So each stage of each nursery has its own, maybe I would say, specific detail that you can be advised to do at that particular time. But for us, it's more of looking at it on a holistic way, where at each step, if it's affected, if it's not affected, there's steps that we do, there's things that we do which now do not interrupt the growth and now also accompany the nutrition benefits of the plant with the surrounding that is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And also even over the years,
Yeah.
how do you make sure you maintain soil fertility? Because, you know, the soil is the one that is holding this plant.
Exactly.
So how do you maintain soil fertility over the years?
So there's 3 ways you can do it. One, you can plant trees. So the trees will offer not only shade, it will offer mulching. Mulching now becomes part of the soil. It gets into the microorganisms of the soil, becomes the DNA of the soil. Secondly, you can also add like an animal farm, where this animal farm is giving you manure, and that manure is now being used as input for your farm. Then the third way is now you could rely now on chemicals, where you say, I don't have maybe the capacity, or I don't have maybe the reach, or that's not my model, this is what I want to do. So you'll now focus on the chemical side of things. So nutritional values are based on each practice and each farmer. So farmers who would see that using chemicals is advantageous to them would actually look for advice from an organic farmer and ask, how is your crop doing? Well, how is it doing? And if they find out that it's actually doing better, they become very discouraged because now they've used their money, they've trusted this brand, instead of trusting the one true brand, which is the soil. So they end up now trying to change their farm rapidly, where now if you're trying to come from chemical to organic, you can't just do 90-20 or 90-10 or whatever. You have to have a balance where you decrease maybe your chemicals by 15% each year until now you're able now to be at a level where the organic is more than what your chemical side is doing.
Okay.
So you can easily now transition. Most farmers now cut maybe the SL variety and put in Ruiru because they're saying, oh, it's a hybrid, oh, I won't use so many chemicals, or all that. But in reality, the flavor is not the same. SL has a different flavor. And that's why it's native to Kiambu and it's native to central Kenya.
Okay.
And you'll find now the Ruirus, which are hybrids, you can't really compare yourself to Brazil. Brazil also do hybrids. That's why they are the #1 exporter of coffee. So they've been able to come up with varieties which they're drought resistant because of their high yield. They don't want things to just radically change. So for us, let's focus on the artisanal side. Let's focus on the Kenyan Gold, which is the SL variety. If you want to graft another SL. Who said you can't do it? Yeah.
Okay. And I think we'll get to the SL variety and the market later on, even as we speak. Now, let's look at after the 3 years, it has started producing, right?
Yes.
So when it comes to the producing of the cherries that we have, how do you pick the cherries and how do you know this cherry is ready to be picked?
Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, when the nutrition, after now 3 years, it's been well, it's been a good momentum. Now you'll actually be seeing that the cherries vary with the variety. There's a different size of cherry with SL, a different size of cherry with the Ruiru, and then now you find out that Ruiru has maybe less needs than SL. SL now you'll find that people want to be there, it's more hands-on, it's very delicate and all that. So from now then, from it being a young infant now to being an adult, it requires a lot of patience, it requires a lot of vision. You have to see the coffee when it's already even fruiting, even without you being told. So you'll go through a period of flowering. Then after flowering now, you'll first develop your first beans. And also from the flowering stage, you can actually tell by the size of the flower how predominant your coffee is going to be. And with that now, with the help of bees, which if now you're doing organic farming, they will come naturally and pollinate. But now if you're doing chemical farming, it will not attract the bees. So now you'll have now to use other chemicals to now supplement for that. So with that flowering stage over, now you come to the bean. It turns from green to yellow and then now to pink and then red. We call it blood red. So when we're having our women picking our coffee, mostly women, we probably just put a Q-Tech shade of what color they're supposed to pick. This helps, keeps the protocol, which is easy, for even our young pickers to come and pick coffee which is right. Because you want to pass down the information of how to pick coffee very easily by teaching them using color. Because sometimes you'll find there's a language barrier, or you'll find like there's a lot of barriers, maybe unforeseen barriers. So we do that using color. We put the shade of the bean you're supposed to pick, and now when they're picking, they're focusing on it because they're looking at it on their thumb.
Right. Even as we speak about the colors, what period do they change? Like from green to yellow to pink and then to the one that is ready now to be picked. What period is that?
So there's 2 seasons in the coffee farm, in the coffee industry. So in Kenya, I would say fly crop, which is now we're in fly crop. And then the main season comes in later. Both seasons go for 3 months. But you'd find now on the fly crop, you'll find a little bit less coffee. Why? Because at that period, there's not so much sun. The ripening of the cherry is done by the sun. That's why when there's no sun, most coffee farmers are like, I have coffee in the plantation, it's not ripening.
We need the sun.
So we need the sun, basically. And where we are as Kenya, because we're in the equator, with the full sun, the coffee is able to ripen all evenly at one go. So you'll find one tree, like now you'll find, because there's no full sun, you'll find one cherry, one from this one from this one from this one. So with that now, it makes you now be going back to the farm and doing it. But when you have full sun, you'll start seeing like a whole tree slowly convert itself from green, yellow, pink to now red.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, even as a farmer is ready now to harvest, the how-to when it comes to harvesting,
Yeah.
take us through that so that at least a farmer who is out there can just have a perspective or an idea of what usually happens, or even someone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
They can understand, okay, this is what we usually do. Yes.
So first of all, we start counting the people who are present for the picking. We do this because why? We don't want any young laborers coming out of school and being forced to pick coffee in the farms. So we count the ladies up, we give them the debes. The debes have numbers, and with that debe, they're able now to fill it up to that specific color that we gave them. Then by filling it up, they're able now to bring it to the pulping station or the roasting space, where it will be sorted again in case there's a few cherries which have been picked wrongly. So with that now, you're able now to come up with a system, which is a pre-sorting system after harvest and post-harvest system, where now you're able now to get the external laborers on time, they're able to pick the right amount of coffee, they're able to be given a target where they're supposed to meet. Then by this now, you run your coffee as a business instead of running it as a lifestyle.
Okay.
Basically, yeah.
All right. So now, the bush is there. It's the cherries are ready for picking. When you look at the average amount that maybe a tree can bring, or even an acre can bring, if you can just sum that up for us, so that at least we understand. Okay, one tree, how much can one tree produce? And at the end of the day, as a farmer, how much does it bring back to you?
Exactly.
Yes.
So we've noticed two problems in the scene, where the people who are pruning the coffee have not been maybe given a proper handling management of the coffee. So you'll find most coffee farmers right now are doing 0.5 kilos a tree.
Okay.
But if you have the practices of the protocols of this is what you pick, this is how you pick it, this is the time you pick it, then for us, we've been able to scale it up to 5 kilos a bush. 1 acre could comfortably fit 1,800 bushes. Out of this 1,800 bushes, if you're doing on the low side that 500 grams, you won't be able to pay yourself. You won't be able to even pay your workers. But now if you're doing an upwards of 2 kilos and above, then now you're able now to even have better understanding of the coffee, plan better, get more people to harvest it in time, and also it gives you more morale as a farmer. So I would say it's how you schedule yourself. If you look at it as an open-minded farmer, you can do it. But if you're following traditional methods, looking for new things to do, it won't work. You have to have that vision of, okay, maybe my picking practices are wrong. Maybe let me have like a short training for my pickers. You know, in the coffee farm, we basically sideline these people who normally pick or drive or be involved in the scene, but they're the most crucial people. So if you offer training to them and feed them and offer them a sense of a family, then they will never leave. So it's more of a mindset issue, and at the same time, it's more of you understanding what you have, your capacity, and then putting protocols, easy protocols, which now you yourself can also leave and go do something else and it will still be done. So that's where the disconnect is. where the practices are not being practiced the way they're supposed to. They're just there as a precursor for us to get beans. But there's a way you're supposed to prune coffee. There's a way you're supposed to handle even this bush, okay?
Okay.
It's supposed to be like this, not like this, you see? So there's that, the handling of it, which now is very crucial, because you'll find maybe a picker has been cutting onions, then he comes and starts picking your coffee. Maybe he was from the farm or he's from the house. So you'll find the coffee cherries are smelling like onions. You're like, who is this? So you'll find a taint inside your farm without you having protocols which you could have actually integrated into the farm, like wash your hands before you touch the beans, make sure the beans are picked early in the morning, so that, why early in the morning? Because the buds normally open up the stomata of the coffee when the sounds are normally, the buds are chirping. So you'll find that's the most active time of the coffee plant. So it will be easier for you even to pick it. You will just twist it. You won't just even pick it. It will be just a twist. And you'll be able to get what you need from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, David. Very, very insightful.
You're welcome.
So, you've picked the cherry. Now it's time to, between you and where it's supposed to be taken. So what usually happens during that time? And do we usually have waste that comes with that?
Yeah.
And this waste, how does it come about? And also you can also speak about storage of these cherries, if they're stored, and how should they be stored, even up until the place where now we are looking at this cherry being transported.
Okay. So first of all, after now you do the selection, you've picked the coffee, you now take it, it depends. If you want to do a natural process, people call it mbuni, but mbuni is basically a mixture of unripe and ripe. Natural process is basically one specific set of ripe cherries, uniformly colored. Then now they're dried on African sunbeds, and basically we use the sun to dry our coffee, so it's not a mechanical drying. Then after that, now the coffee can be pulped or it can be dry milled, depending on what you want. If you're doing a wash process, you can pick it up, and as soon as 24 hours are done, make sure you go and sort your coffee. We use water, so we soak it in water, remove the floaters, those are called floaters, the lights. Coffee is more of a density controlled kind of bean. So the heavier, the bigger the bean, the higher the quality, the higher the grade, basically. And you want to achieve that. So by that now, when you've done all this nutritional chart, you'll be able to approach yourself into a situation where you're picking a lot of P1. P1 is meaning parchment one. So coffee at this stage is called coffee cherry. And from coffee cherry, now there's parchment coffee, which is P1, parchment coffee. Then from parchment coffee, there's now wet parchment and dry parchment. So it's wet parchment, you dry to the sun, dry parchment, then now you mill it. After milling means you remove the coffee husks.
Yes.
So the coffee husks, from now, what I've said, from the pulping to the husk, you already have like 2 or 3 waste profiles. First you have the water you used, wastewater. Then now you have the pulp, which you used from the pulping. Then now from that, you could either say you have now the parchment, which is a coffee husk. Then from that now, you'll be able to reuse the 3 elements, either as a farm input. You can add cow dung, put it in your biogas digester, produce gas, and produce your own fertilizer. Or you can mix it up with chicken food, chickens love it. Or I'm in an organization called Center for Circular Economy, where we valorize spent coffee grounds to even make battery capacitors for cars. We can make biodiesel from coffee. You can start your own petrol station, run from coffee. You can start your own painting company made from coffee pigments, bleaching company or cleaning company made from coffee. So coffee is wide. Yeah? We've only focused on the consuming side.
Yeah.
But we've forgotten that it's actually a black gold. Why is it a black gold? Because it has so many uses, so many properties that you can use. We could actually have water filters made from coffee, and that could also put ourselves in the map as Kenya, producing coffee and also producing value-added innovations to come up with solutions for us. So coffee is wide, and I'm happy to be one of the young people who's interacting with like really innovative minds, which have the same mindset as me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And now let's look at the market. You had mentioned about it earlier on, even as we are now kind of wrapping up the conversation. Let's look at the Kenyan market when it comes to coffee in Kenya. From your perspective, and you've been doing this for quite some time, when you look at how the market is behaving in terms of when you, maybe let's compare it with other different crops. How is coffee performing, and what do you think needs to be done in order to at least improve the crop within the country?
First of all, I would love coffee to be very self-sufficient, from its waste to its people, because now us as farmers, we've gotten to a point where we have to drink our coffee to understand our coffee. That was the first barrier I had to do, which was, I was a farmer, I loved coffee, and I had never drank my coffee. So now when I started drinking my coffee, I started understanding what coffee is. Then, number two, as a farmer, your most important weapon or shield or mindset is research. If you research and research and research and research, no other person will come outside there and tell you things that you don't know. You will be on top of that. And that also ties in with your story. Are you also somebody who is seeing coffee not just as a commodity, but coffee as a bridge between communities? So for me, I see it as a bridge between communities, because I am here to tell the story for everyone, and everyone should listen because you're part of the story. And with that, we're able now to come up with better prices for our coffee farmers, better prices even for the people we work with, better pay, and we boost employment. I feel like coffee is the biggest industry right now that if we do not take charge of it as young people, it's gonna collapse. Because there's a lot of who said what, who said that. There's a lot of fake and unfake people who want to be part of the community, but they are not part of the community. So you end up filtering a lot of people, and you end up now finding your tribe by just knowing more about your coffee. So I broke the boundary. I said, I'm gonna drink my own coffee. I'm gonna come up with my own chemicals. I'm gonna come up with my own innovations to boost my coffee, because it came from a place of lacking. It came from a place where I had to be resilient, you see? So with that, I would say that don't go to a coffee farm or to a coffee shop just to look at it. You know, find out who the farmer is, get to know where your coffee comes from, get to actually see that if you can collaborate with this person, you can do anything. Coffee can collaborate with anything. Music. I play music to my coffee trees because I'm also a creative. And that's the input I also put out. I don't forget about me playing a guitar or mixing or doing music. I bring it to the farm because this is where I feel at home. This is where I feel at peace. And this is what growth looks like. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving us your insights today, and also giving us the how-tos when it comes to coffee planting. You have it from David Waweru himself, and you've heard from him. Do you usually play music to your coffee? I think it's something you should think about. My name is Calvin Nyakundi. Today we've been looking at the process of planting coffee. Of course, remember, next week we'll be looking at this other process from after you've harvested your coffee. What do you do with it? Let's meet next time, same place right here on Farm Kenya.
Kuwa mkono ambao unalima ardhi, mlango wa mkulima, kuwa mshindi, kuwa na uhakika sasa, kuulea mustakabali wa baadaye. Tufanye kazi pamoja na tukue pamoja, kuimarisha Kenya.